Good morning, Las Vegas Valley. This is 8 News Now This Morning with Dave McCann, Dana Roselli, neighborhood weather with Sherry Swens, and Beat the Traffic with Brian Loftus and Ken Smith. Your morning begins now.
It is 6 o'clock. It may be hard to swallow, but coffee prices are on the rise. What's behind the increase and what else you'll have to shell out?
First, we're going to deal with these coffee bean prices. They've gone up across the world, and that's being passed on to you, whether you buy a bag of ground coffee or a latte at Starbucks.
Guess who's in this morning? Calvert Collins live at a local coffee shop to
Hello,
tell us
Calvert.
about more on this story. It's going up, Calvert.
I know, it's deja vu, guys. Well, yes, coffee prices, the owner here at Samba Latte in Boca Park has certainly seen the jump in coffee prices. In fact, he went to an international conference just a couple of weeks ago about that jump in prices. The reason, more demand, because there are more people drinking coffee, believe it or not, these days, particularly in China and India. But the harvest, however, has not been as good, which is currently going on in Brazil right now. The company that sells Folgers and Dunkin' Donuts brand coffees at the grocery stores announced an 11% increase in prices for its coffee products. Now, that's the second increase of the year for the store-bought coffee. Starbucks is in the same boat, raising its prices for bagged coffee as much as 17% because of the demand for unroasted beans. Coffee drinkers we spoke to said they don't mind paying more for their beloved Java.
You adapt in different ways when there's something that you really like and you want to keep that special flavor, that special thing in your life, you adapt some other way.
Whether it goes up or not, I'm still going to buy it because I love coffee and I have to have it every day.
Coffee has seen the biggest spike among some of the grocery store products, but bread, milk, eggs, cheese, and ground beef are not far behind thanks to growing demand and tight supplies of wheat, corn, and other key commodities. The price for each of those has jumped more than a dime, and they may be jumping more for these different coffees as well. Now, we're talking about ground coffee, not as much here at the coffee store if you're maybe just buying a cup of cappuccino or a latte, but it's actually the ground coffee. That's because 80% of Americans, we're actually the largest coffee consuming nation in the world, 80% of us drink our coffee at home. Only about 9% of the population actually goes to Starbucks or a drive-thru on their way to work. So there's still the demand, but like I mentioned, that harvest, not so good this year. So we'll be paying a little bit more for that cup of joe. Back to you guys.
All right. Seems like everything's going up. And if you've got a cup of coffee in your hand, you might want to listen up because that cup will soon be costing you more. Well, at least what's in it. The demand for unroasted beans has spiked again, which means the price for a bag of ground coffee is going up. Reporter Calvert Collins joins us this morning live from a local coffee shop in Summerlin to tell us how much it's going up. Calvert, we all drink it.
Well, yes, it could be going up as much as 20%. And we're not talking about the price of a latte, but actually it's the ground coffee that's getting more expensive for the second time this year. And here's why. There are more people that just want to drink coffee all over the world. Brazil is the largest coffee producer in the world, producing about 50 million bags per year. Well, most of that comes to the U.S. because we are the #1 coffee consuming country in the world. However, in the next 2 years, Starbucks plans to open 3,000 stores in China and India, which means they're going to need a whole lot more Java to keep up with the growing demand, and that means it will cost you more to brew at home here. Samba Latte customers we spoke to said they'll pay whatever they have to.
If I really want it, I'll buy it. And because to me, there's certain foods that I need to have. And if the prices goes up on them, I'll still buy them.
You don't come here to get a deal. You come here because the culture of nurturing the quality of the coffee is so extraordinary that there's nothing like it in the city that I know of.
If you've been to the grocery store lately, you've probably noticed bread, milk, corn, cheese, and sugar are on the rise. That's because the cost for basic agricultural goods have gone up because of the bad weather in many parts of the world. Tight supplies of grains have turned to pushing up prices for livestock that eat them, resulting in higher prices in beef and pork for us at the grocery store. But back here at Samba Latte, the owner, interestingly enough, because they're a small private shop, he can buy directly from the coffee coffee bean farmers in Brazil, which is where he's from. We're going to talk to him coming up in our next hour. But something interesting, a little tidbit to take to work with you this morning. The second largest producers of coffee beans in the world behind Brazil, Colombia, and Vietnam, surprisingly. They produce about 18 million bags of coffee a year. So kind of interesting, some good water cooler talk for you this morning. Dana, back to you.
Yeah, interesting. All right, thanks a lot, Calvert. Yeah, we don't like that to go up because a lot of us here, besides you, drink coffee. Calvert Collins is live at a local coffee shop to tell us, is there a choice and what are people saying? Are they going to buy it anyway?
Yeah, that's what we're hearing, Dana. In fact, some of the people we interviewed yesterday here at Samba Latte are here this morning. The store opened up for us early, so we certainly appreciate that. But all the talk is over these little guys right here. They're made all over the world, and the demand for them is growing like wildfire, particularly in Asia. The company that sells Folgers and Dunkin' Donuts coffee brand coffees at grocery stores announced an 11% increase in prices for its coffee products. That's the second increase of the year for the store-bought coffee because the demand is so high. Starbucks is in the same boat, raising its prices for bagged coffee as much as 17% because of the demand for those unroasted beans I just showed you. Coffee drinkers we spoke to, like I said, say they will pay more for their beloved Java.
You adapt in different ways when there's something that you really like and you want to keep that special flavor, that special thing in your life, you adapt some other way.
Whether it goes up or not, I'm still going to buy it because I love coffee, and I have to have it every day.
A lot of people share that same mentality. Well, coffee has seen the biggest spike among grocery store products, but bread, milk, egg, cheese, and ground beef aren't far behind. And thanks to the growing demand and tight supplies of wheat, corn, and other key commodities, the price of each of those has jumped more than a dime and is certainly expected to continue the rise up because of a lot of that bad weather that we've been reporting on in all parts of the Midwest. So all of those agricultural products in the United States could possibly be going up at the end of the summer. But interestingly enough, I know Dana and Brian, Sherry, you guys all brew your own coffee at home. Well, you're in the majority. 80% of Americans brew their coffee at home, and about 9% of us actually get their coffee on the way to work. So excuse me a minute, I'm going to have a sip here.
There she goes.
Back to you guys.
Oh, that looks good. All right, thanks, Calvert. There's something like having a coffee in the actual mug, though. Like the travel mugs aren't the same.
Really?
Way down among Brazilians, coffee beans grow by the billions.
We're cruising along on this Friday morning. Just listen to that going, hey, who is that, Glenn Miller? I have no idea.
I don't know. It's our producer's
Frank
effort.
Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra typing in coffee songs.
Singing about coffee.
Coming up with this.
We're talking about coffee
Thanks,
this morning because the prices are going up.
Right, they are. And that's, affecting a lot of people because you either make your coffee at home, you stop at Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, any of the local coffee shops, and you buy coffee. A lot of people do. Let's check in with Calvert Collins. She's going to tell us how much more we're going to be paying.
Yeah, it could be up to 20% more for that bag of coffee. It's all over these little guys. These are in high demand all over the world now, not just in the United States, but especially in China and India. So these bags of ground coffee are going to start going up in the next couple of weeks, and that's the second time this year. Now, Brazil is the largest coffee-producing nation in the world, producing about 50 million bags of coffee per year, and most of that's coming right here to the United States because we're the #1 coffee consuming country in the world. But that's going to change too because Starbucks is opening about 3,000 stores in China and India over the next 2 years, which means they're going to need a whole lot more Java to keep up with that growing demand, which means it's going to cost you here a lot more, whether you brew at home or whether you come to Samba Latte here in Summerlin. And somebody who knows a lot about the price of coffee is Luis Oliveira, a Brazilian by birth, but owns a coffee shop here. So talk about, you just got back from a big coffee conference in London. Talk about where the demand is going.
Well, the demand right now, because the whole world is a huge appetite to drink coffee, especially like in China, India, when the previous generation, they drink so much tea, they love to drink coffee. And in America, in Brazil as well, right now in America, we are the #1 coffee consumer in the world. But by next year, Brazil is going to be not only the coffee producer, but the coffee consumer in the world as well. And so the price of the coffee, like 2 years ago, used to be 50 cents a pound. And now it is $3 a pound.
Wow.
There is a speculation that could go up to $4 because of this demand that is creating in the world to drink coffee.
Wow, a lot of people share our love of coffee, especially we need it when we wake up so early in the morning. But so there you have it. So start getting a few more pennies out the next time you come to Samba Latte or Starbucks.
Yeah.
Dave and Dana, back to you.
I'm going to put a coffee cup on my desk and collect funds.
Really?
So that I'm always refreshed. Because we're early in the morning, so we deserve coffee more than everyone else. That's what I think.